We're Liz and Dennis, and over the past year, we've spent 11 months RVing all across mainland Mexico. During our travels, we visited 20 different Mexican states and drove over 8,000 miles, sharing our adventures and experiences with you here on YouTube. So we thought it would be the perfect time to sit down and share how much our trip cost us, so that you can have a realistic expectation for what RVing on your own trip may cost you. Joining me today to help discuss the budget is our sweet kitty cat, Oliver. He's not exactly the most enthralled with the budget, but there's a lap on the couch, so he's there. We'll be diving into two topics today. The first is costs that you will need to pay for before entering Mexico in order to actually start your trip. And then the other one will be the ongoing monthly travel expenses that you can expect, including ranges for highs and lows. Because while we're sharing our exact costs, what we spend is very different from what you may spend. We've shared how much RVing cost us in the past, and let's just say there was a lot of opinions about how much we choose to spend and where we spend our money. And that's one thing I do want to say as a disclaimer for this video. We are not asking for feedback or how we could have improved our spending. We're simply sharing it to be educational for you so that you can have a realistic idea of what things may cost you, especially if you look back on our videos and think you'd like to follow in our footsteps for a lot of the activities or food or restaurants we visited. This will help give you an idea of what we had to spend to do that. So, without further ado, let's dive into what it costs to RV Mexico. Before you enter the country, one thing you will have to purchase is Mexican liability insurance. This is for your vehicles, and it is in addition to any standard insurance coverage you would have from your home provider. We made sure we still had things like theft and collision coverage, but we did purchase additional Mexican liability insurance from a third-party provider. We chose to go with Mexpro, although there is a ton of different insurance providers for Mexico liability insurance. So it's a good idea to shop around to find which policy is the best price with also quality service. Mexico requires a minimum of $300,000 as a liability insurance policy, but there are options to increase your coverage if desired. Obviously, keep in mind that the coverage cost will vary depending on your vehicle, the age, make, model, and size of your rig. For us, it ended up costing $716 for both our RV and scooter. If you plan to RV mainland Mexico, another upfront cost you're going to have to pay for is a tip, which is a temporary import permit. If you are RVing Baja or any of the border states in Mexico, a tip is not required, but if you plan to go further south, it is something you will have to pay for and register for just after crossing the border at Banjercito. Now, RV tips are good for 10 years, and if you have a tow vehicle such as a motorcycle or another car, then you're going to have to also register and get a tip for that car separately. The good news is tips are refundable. When you exit the country and you return your tip, you get the full amount put back onto your original payment form. So for us, it costs $450 roughly for our RV and our scooter. Now, because you're paying in pesos, how much you actually get back when you exit the country could be more or less than what you originally paid. It really just depends on the strength of the currency at the time that you are getting money put back on your card. For us, when we exited, the peso value had gone down, so we only got back $429. The last thing you may want to pay for before you actually start your trip is going to be health insurance. Now, being in a foreign country, you want to make sure that you are covered in the event of a serious injury or if you just need medical care. Thankfully, Mexico's medical care system is super affordable, but in the event of a serious injury, we really liked knowing that we had peace of mind having coverage through Safety Wing insurance. We ended up choosing Safety Wing specifically because of their really affordable policies and their great coverage plans. We were covered for up to $250,000 initially, and our plan only cost us $506 for the two of us for 6 months. So they start off at a really affordable rate and can go anywhere from just a few days coverage to up to 6-month policies at a time. If you're interested in getting a quote to see how much insurance would cost you, we will have a link in the description below of this video so you can check it out on Safety Wing for yourself. Now that we've covered your upfront costs for RVing Mexico, let's dive into your ongoing monthly expenses for RVing this country. Starting with camping. Camping for us cost roughly $389 per month on average. There is a wide range of campground options, everything from free camping all the way up to RV parks with full hookups, including electricity, water, and dumps. And there's a ton of campground options in between. In general, if you're not free camping, even if you don't have hookups or amenities, you're probably still going to have to pay. We've camped at marinas, hotels, restaurants. We parked at a cacao farm and even a water park pool area. Most of them did not have any amenities, but we still had to pay. Free camping is available both in Baja and mainland Mexico, but it's definitely more prevalent and readily available in Baja. When it comes to mainland side, the smaller your RV and the more stealth you may look, the more free camping options you have. We were able to free camp during our time, even being our big 25-foot Class C RV with blue stripes and a scooter on the back. But we were still able to find some free camping spots, including Pemex gas stations. We also stayed on the beach in Mahahual for over a week, which was awesome. We've stayed at the Chedraui parking lot in Tulum. So that definitely exists. It's just not necessarily as glamorous. There is lots of street parking as well and other free camping spots that you may be able to find on an overlander. But again, those are reserved for slightly smaller vehicles that are a little bit more incognito. And the other end of the spectrum is RV parks, which has a wide range of amenities. We've stayed at RV parks that were very similar to what we might expect in the US that had full hookups at our sites. We've stayed at others where the electricity didn't exactly work. There was no dump anywhere. One where the sites were extremely small and you were more in a parking lot with a 15 amp plug that you could plug into. So it really just depends. You're going to have to be flexible if you plan to travel throughout the country and not just park in one RV park for the entire season. If you'd like to see some of the spots that we camped at and what type of amenities were offered as well as the cost, we share all of that in each individual vlog when we get to a destination, so you can go back and watch prior vlogs to check that out. And now that we're talking about traveling, let's dive into fuel, because that's going to be a huge cost when it comes to traveling throughout the country. Now, if you plan to just go to one RV park and stay there for an entire season, take satellite trips to explore the areas nearby, obviously your fuel costs are going to be a lot less than ours. But for the entire 11 months, on average, we spent $289 for both propane and diesel fuel, as well as gasoline for our scooter. Diesel, propane, and gas is more expensive in Mexico than it is in the United States or Canada. So that means that you should add a little to your budget for what you would normally spend as you travel in those areas, because the cost for fuel is just more. We ended up calculating out that our entire 8,000 mile trip throughout the country cost us roughly 39 cents per mile to travel. So hopefully that can kind of help you gauge and estimate what it may cost you based on your trip. Tolls will also be a cost you have to factor into your budget for RVing Mexico. Toll roads are abundant in Mexico, especially just over the border. They can be a really safe, nice way to travel throughout the country, but they are really expensive. A toll can cost anywhere from $2 up to $40 per vehicle and up, depending on what type of RV or travel trailer you're taking with you. We ended up spending $168 per month on tolls, but it's important to mention that our rate will probably differ from yours unless you're in a vehicle in a setup that is similar to ours, because the tolls charge you based on what you're driving. Just like everywhere else that operates in a toll, they charge you by your axles. You will be charged extra if you're towing a vehicle as well. Thankfully, our scooter was raised off of our RV, so we didn't actually have to pay for that each time we passed through a toll. But our friends that were towing cars on our first leg of the trip had to pay for the vehicle each time. And our friends that had the fifth wheel traveling out of Mexico with us also had a lot more expenses because of their setup. So smaller is definitely better, not just for getting around Mexico, but also for your wallet. If you're looking to figure out how much tolls will cost you for a specific route or trip, there is a website you can access that you can put in your starting point and your final destination, as well as your vehicle information, and it will tell you the total cost for tolls based on that route. Always have cash on you. The tolls are efectivo or cash only, so you need to have pesos at hand. There is an easy toll pass you can get where they give you a transponder and you can recharge online if that's of interest to you, but we just chose to take the Efectivo route and always had pesos. And since we're on the pesos topic, let's talk about how to get pesos, which will be another cost for you on a pretty regular basis. ATMs are going to be by far the easiest and most cost-effective way to withdraw money if you don't have a Mexican bank to pull pesos out of. So for us, we ended up calling our bank and figured out what their partner bank was in Mexico, and if it was at all available, of course, we would go to that bank and the fees would be far less. So depending on who you're banking with will ultimately determine how much you end up paying per month. And in total, it costs us about $25 on average per month to withdraw money. But you'll need pesos. Cash is king in Mexico. Food is extremely affordable in Mexico. Both eating out and buying groceries is very economical. You can shop in very different ways, and how you shop will ultimately determine how much you spend. There's everything from a fruteria, which is like a local market that will sell fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, cheeses, fish, even fresh tortillas, all in one location. You can also shop in everyday grocery stores. They have Costco's, Sam Club's, Walmart's, and they have several of their own national chain grocery stores as well that offer super affordable grocery shopping. We were able to find eco-tiendas in select cities. A lot of the places where there's a larger expat community is often where we were able to find those hard to find goods. And we loved shopping there because we always knew we had local organic produce and we got really tasty products that were kind of hard to find in everyday grocery stores. When the pandemic started, we self-isolated in Isla Aguada, and the only place we had to shop was a fruteria. And for the 3 months that we were there, we ended up spending an average of $180 per month on groceries for an entire month, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when we were traveling and had access to the wide variety of different places you could shop, our budget ended up increasing, where we spent an average of $529 per month on groceries. But I definitely think a $200 to $300 budget isn't unreasonable depending on what types of foods you like to buy and how much you're eating out. Because if you're coming to Mexico, eating out is definitely one of the highlights of visiting. There's so much amazing food to enjoy. We ate everything from street food, where we were able to get tacos or gorditas or tamales or elotes for as cheap as 50 cents to $2. And we also enjoyed little mom and pop restaurants on the side of the road or in small little pueblos where we were able to get tasty fish dishes or pozole or other incredible dishes from Mexico for anywhere from $5 to $10 per person. And of course, we also enjoyed some fine dining where we went to nicer restaurants that probably would be out of our price range if we were in the US, that served some incredible gastronomy experiences. So depending on what you're looking for will ultimately impact your budget. We loved doing a mix of all three just because it gave us different culinary experiences, something that we really love here at Eat CRV. So if you're coming and you're into food, you are definitely in for a treat, and I suggest budgeting more than you might normally spend in your home country just so you can really take in the local regional cuisine and get a wide variety of what Mexico has to offer when it comes to their tasty food. We spent $438 on average per month when it comes to eating out, and we did not hold back, like at all. We ate all the food. But in addition to Mexico's incredibly tasty food, there is also so many amazing places to explore, tour, and activities to do. We spent an average of $152 per month on tours and excursions, and we did not hold back on our activities at all. We were able to paraglide during our trip, see the monarch butterfly migration. We visited so many ancient civilizations and Mayan ruins, Aztec ruins, Zapotec ruins. We also visited cenotes, we took boat tours, we saw flamingos in their natural habitat. We took wine tours and relaxed in hot springs. We went to waterfalls and kayak tours. You're going to be in some of the most unique and beautiful geographic areas you can imagine. And for that reason, our budget may be higher than what you were expecting, but if the goal is to travel, do, and experience as much as possible. The last thing I want to cover would be laundry. It's kind of a miscellaneous item here that a lot of people overlook, and it's not a huge budget breaker here, but it is important to factor in for your costs, because if you don't have a washer or dryer in your RV, like we don't, then you're going to have to seek out a lavanderia in order to get your clothes washed. Most lavanderias charge by the weight, so you bring in your clothes, they weigh it, and then they'll have a rate per kilo for what they charge. They'll wash it, dry it, and fold it for you, and you can either pick it up or they will drop it off to your RV park, depending on the location. And it's super affordable. We paid no more than $15 at any given location. So I would suggest budgeting around $15 to $20 for laundry per month, but it really depends on the number of people in your household and how much laundry you produce. So that's it. Those are the costs for RVing Mexico. All in, on average, per month, it cost us $2,000 to RV all across this country, which personally we think is extremely affordable given all of the amazing experiences we had, all of the food we ate, all of the people we met and places we stayed and things we got to see and do during that time. Now, $2,000 may seem high for you, it may seem low for you based on your spending habits and what you're accustomed to. That's the cool thing about RVing Mexico, is just because we spent that doesn't mean you will. There are definitely budget ways to travel this country, and there are people who are doing this for far less than we are. Use those ranges we gave you for each of the different categories of where you'll be spending and help determine the route and trip that's best for you based on your budget. You may end up coming here and end up spending way more than we did, which is also awesome. The point is to get here, because Mexico has so much for you to discover and enjoy. We'll be doing another video next week that'll share expectations to help kind of bring you back to ground for reality of RVing Mexico, because while it's beautiful and epic and fun and awesome, it also comes with a number of challenges. So we want to make sure that before you embark on your big trip, you have realistic expectations of what it's like RVing here. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments below if you have any specific questions about a budget and costs for RVing Mexico, or for next week's video as we share our expectations and realities of RVing there. And if you're ready to dive in deeper, we do have an RV guide to Mexico that covers everything we shared here and in our next video, and literally so much more. It's a 70-page guide filled with information you need to be able to build your own trip and go confidently RVing throughout Mexico. We share our personalized map that has hundreds of destinations throughout Mexico, so you can choose the destinations that you'd like. If you're interested in that, we will have a link in the description below, as well as a link on the card up above. And until then, we'll see you next week. Adios.